Testing. Here we go. What's up, everyone? It looks like we are live. Looks like the audio is working okay. If you're having trouble hearing me, let me know. Chat is open. Appreciate the engagement here. Today on Cybersecurity News Today, I'm Brian with Exact IT and Cybersecurity. It's April 3rd, 2025. Today, I don't have a lot of time, so we're jumping right into the threat intelligence segment. And unfortunately, I won't have time to go through any news articles and react to anything that we're seeing in the news today, simply because I'm a little constrained on time. So I want to try to get through this live stream as quickly as possible. So in today's video, we're going to dive into the most pressing cyber threats that my intelligence team has come up with, that businesses and IT professionals are facing and need to know about. From spear-phishing attacks targeting MSPs and their ScreenConnect to Fileless Malware campaigns, even phishing campaigns and scams impersonating toll collecting companies. We're seeing a rise in these types of threats happening across the board. So we've got a packed agenda today to get you informed on what these scams are and what you can do to start protecting yourself and your businesses. As always, again, the chat is open. Remember to comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. Appreciate the support. So let's get into how these threats work, and most importantly, how to protect your organization. And number one topic that I have today is this Qilin ransomware / ScreenConnect threat. I talked about it a bit yesterday, but they're still going hard, targeting MSPs and their ScreenConnect. I don't know if I was clear yesterday on what the exact threat to MSPs was. So I'm going to be a little bit more succinct today and letting you know that they're imitating ScreenConnect login pages and they're bypassing multi-factor authentication as they gain access to customers' networks and deploy ransomware on their networks. So this is a highly vulnerable supply chain type of attack that compromises MSPs and their weak security practices, not any vulnerability within ScreenConnect itself. And the attackers have kind of socially engineered their way into a lot of MSPs' ScreenConnect servers lately. So you need to be aware of this, folks. If you're an MSP, if you're an IT company, if you're an IT department that uses ScreenConnect, be aware that they are targeting people through phishing campaigns and getting into their ScreenConnect with the purpose of deploying malware to your clients. So make sure you're protecting yourself by enforcing strict email filtering and phishing awareness training to people who use ScreenConnect in your organization, especially anybody who has a login to your ScreenConnect servers. Block any emails that come in from ScreenConnect that are not from your ScreenConnect server or domain. That can be easily done through things like IP whitelisting and other methods. Make sure you're using MFA, hardware-based MFA tokens instead of software-based solutions like sending it to your email. That's not a good idea. Use a token, use an app, use a hardware-based token tool. Regularly audit your RMM tools and your ScreenConnect logins for unauthorized logins and or changes to the ScreenConnect server or software that runs into it. So that's the deal. I know I've talked about it a couple times, but it's a big deal for MSPs and IT people that use ScreenConnect. Make sure you're aware of what's going on out there. Pay attention to this stuff. Secure your ScreenConnect servers and put really good processes around how you access it so your employees and your technicians are not tricked into getting hacked. We've seen, we're aware of like 4 MSPs at this point that have fallen victim to this in the last they're about 45 days now. So it's out there, be aware. Fin7, moving right along. They're deploying this Anubis backdoor via compromised SharePoint sites. So Fin7 is a notorious cybercrime group, is now using a Python-based Anubis Anubis backdoor to target Windows system through a malicious payload hosted on SharePoint sites. So this attack is demonstrating increased sophistication of malspam campaigns and the risk posed by trusted platforms like SharePoint. So these attackers are getting into your SharePoint and using the SharePoint that a lot of your users or all of your users may or may not have access to, probably have a lot of access to it based on what we've seen companies do with SharePoint and how they are configuring it, setting it up, and rolling it out. You still got to take the same precautions here that you do with regular file servers by limiting access and only giving people access to the files and folders that they need to do their job. Unfortunately, we don't see that, and when we see companies set up kind of free-for-all SharePoint access for all users, these types of vulnerabilities and scams and tactics that cyber criminals are using here to deploy this malware work very well, simply because we see companies not doing a good job with their SharePoint security and their user access control or their hygiene around making sure only people that need to have access to certain data for their jobs get that access. So as a result, you need to monitor your SharePoint sites, folks, for unusual activity. This is a really good reason to have a third party or a managed security operations team or a SOC plugged into your M365 instance, or if you use Google Workspace, they can plug into that too to monitor for unusual activity with SharePoint sites and files that a threat actor may be using to deploy something bad in your environment. You can use endpoint detection and response tools capable of detecting this type of fileless malware that Fin7 is using. That's an important component and a layer of security that you need to have in place to detect these types of fileless malwares that they are loading onto your SharePoint sites. So if an unsuspecting user comes along, clicks on one of these files, you want to have an EDR tool in place that can detect that they clicked on it. And make sure you educate your employees about phishing risks associated with shared platforms, all the ways that a cyber criminal or a threat actor might exploit your M365 to get users to install malware like this. These are things that you need to make your users aware of. So if they see a random file sitting in a folder that they're not familiar with, human nature, they might want to just go click on it to see what it is. And you don't really want to do that. You want to teach them like, hey, if you see something in the M365 environment that you're not familiar with, let's not click on that. And let's bring that to the attention of IT or the security officer so they can take a look at it and determine if it is something bad. So this type of scam, this backdoor type of deal, is planted on your M365 and requires users to interact with it some way. Now, whether they take their social engineering a bit further to actually kind of force your users, maybe like a pretend IT support call where they say, hey, there's this file in your SharePoint, go click on it. That is definitely part of the scam that could happen. But you also have to worry about just people kind of stumbling upon files, finding those files, and deciding that they're going to click on them to check it out. It's no different than finding a USB on the ground and clicking on the file on the USB. You've been trained and told not to do that for a long time now. And now we're going to have to train users to pay attention to this stuff when they are, using the company M365 as well. Moving right along, Fileless cryptominer targeting post-GRE SQL servers. Over 1,500 post-GRE SQL servers have been compromised by a fileless malware campaign, and the word of the day is fileless malware campaign, deploying XMRig C3 cryptominers. Interesting. Attackers exploit weak credentials and misconfigured servers to deploy this fileless malware that then makes them money by using your computing resources and the electricity you're paying for at your data centers to mine Bitcoin. And these fileless malware is harder to detect and can cripple cloud infrastructure by hijacking resources for crypto mining. So that's the other threat here, is that when your crypto miners are using all the resources for your computer or your server, it leaves less for your legitimate business applications, which can slow things down or cause systems to go down or not be available. So this attack requires, like I said, weak credentials. So make sure you're using strong password policies and disable public exposure of these post-GRE SQL servers. These SQL servers can be exploited just like any other SQL server using all different kinds of coding options that are available to you when you're dealing with SQL servers. SQL injection being one of the things I'm referring to. Make sure you're regularly monitoring your SQL servers, your post-GRE SQL configurations for any anomalies or anything that an adversary may have changed along the way. And use behavioral analysis tools easily deployed through a SOC or some similar type of service to detect fileless malware activity. A SOC and a combined protection of a SOC and an EDR is really good in these situations when you're dealing with fileless malware. So this is a good case and a good reason to deploy EDR and a SOC service, because these threats are ever evolving. They know what you're doing with your cyber protections, and they know that their traditional way of using files or not using fileless malware, you can get them caught or can stop them dead in their tracks for what they're trying to do. So 2 articles here that came out in the last 24 hours where there's massive activity around this fileless malware stuff. So got to pay attention to this stuff. You got to know how to deal with it. EDR, SOC solutions are one way you can deal with it. Zero trust process control is another way you can deal with it. Tools like ThreatLocker that allow list certain processes from running can also stop these fileless malwares from running, because although they're fileless, they are not processless. So they need a process to run. And if you can deny processes from running that shouldn't be running, you're one step ahead of the game. Any questions on this, drop it in the chat. Be happy to entertain any questions anybody has. Appreciate everybody who's sticking here with me watching. And, another backdoor trapdoor, as they're calling it, malware called BeaverTail. And here's the North Koreans at it again with their jobs. Threat actors are using fake job recruitment emails to distribute this BeaverTail downloader and trapdoor malware. These campaigns target job seekers in the tech industry. And this tactic exploits human trust and curiosity, making it a potent tool for espionage and data theft. As I mentioned earlier in the previous article with the SharePoint fileless malware, and I mentioned that users, like to go in and use curiosity to figure out what something is, and that's what cyber criminals really prey on, is human beings being curious about what's on their system or what is this thing. Let me click on it and find out. Clicking on it and find out is usually a bad strategy. So you want to make sure to protect yourself in your business. And if you're a cyber defender, you want to make sure you're implementing things like verifying the authenticity of a job offer before engaging with recruiters or downloading any files. It's really kind of a bad idea to download any file as part of a job offer or going for a job. You never know what that could lead to, and I would always be cautious. Use a really good EDR product that has a sandboxing environment that allows you to open suspicious attachments and links in a sandboxing area that's not going to impact your normal or production systems. This is a really good but more advanced technique to use to determine. But if you have an IT team or an IT department that can do this for you, highly recommend that you do it. If you're dealing with this can come through a lot of different ways. This is just one way to do it. As I mentioned yesterday, with going for jobs. Cyber criminals like to use jobs and going for jobs as a good lure to trick people into giving them information or deploying malware, simply because the person on the other end wants to do everything they can to impress the other person, because they think they're dealing with somebody at a legit company who has decision-making power into whether or not they get a job. So people's defenses automatically go down as a result of a lot of these scams. And they click on things, they open things, and they do things that under normal circumstances they may think twice about. But because they're under this kind of predisposition of wanting to get a job and impressing the person on the other side, these things happen, and they happen very easily as a result. And then as cyber defenders, we can deploy network monitoring solutions to detect unusual outbound traffic, because that's what happens once this malware is successfully loaded into place. Traffic starts going to and from the network and going to places that you normally don't go. And if you can pick up on this behavior, if you can detect it, you usually can reduce the blast radius before something really bad happens, or again, reduce the blast radius if something bad does happen, meaning the event only impacts a one or a few users and not the whole entire company. So this is what we aim for as cyber defenders, to try to reduce that blast radius as much as possible. So had the wrong article up there, it appears, or no, I have it twice. So let me share the right one. And then these toll booth things, man, I was actually doing our podcast, Security Squawk, and was talking to Randy and Andre, who do the show with me, and Andre was saying that he was getting a ton of these toll collection scams. He lives down in Florida. I think his is called SunPass, but a lot of these are coming from EasyPass, which is a familiar automatic toll payment system here in the northeast of the country. And I know it's in other places, but EasyPass is a big favorite. So is SunPass, and there's other ones. And phishers really like impersonating these electronic toll collection companies, as phishing scams targeting these toll collection services like EasyPass have surged over 600% this year. And this isn't an attack this isn't a scam that hasn't. It's not like this hasn't been around for a while. It has. But when attackers are increasing their activity around something, it means it's working. And that's why there's so many bulletins from FBI and CISA and Homeland Security about, pay attention and don't fall for these things. Attackers are sending fake unpaid toll notices via SMS to steal payment information. If I were you at this point, I would contact your EasyPass or your SunPass or whoever and tell them you don't want to be contacted by SMS, and just send me a letter or send me something in the mail if I owe you money. Because these scams exploit everyday activities like commuting. So it makes them highly effective against unsuspecting victims. You don't want to drive. You don't want to, if you have to drive to work and pay a toll, you don't want to have to deal with driving through that toll booth and being told like, hey, you violated the toll, and now you're potentially looking at, a fine that could be, upwards of $200, $300, $400, $500, $600. So you'd rather just, deal with the problem. So without thinking, you get this text message, you click on the link instead of checking the link before you click on it like you should. And then you end up, giving away some piece of information, whether that be a credit card number to try to pay off what they say they owe you, or they get your login for the actual toll company. But usually they're trying to rip you off with money. Responding to any of these in any way is a bad idea. It's best to just report them as spam and delete them from your phone. But you need to educate not only yourself, but your employees that these phishing tactics involving SMS, or otherwise known as smishing, they've been around for a while, but they're still very prevalent, and your employees need to be aware that it could come in on their personal device, even if they don't use that device primarily for work, or the company doesn't own it. Look, there's things out there like LinkedIn, like company about us pages that tell people that this person works here. So if they can cross-reference your information and find your phone number on the dark web with your name, they could potentially send you what looks like work-related stuff to your personal cell phone. This is this is research that these cyber criminals do, to dig up, public information that's out there on the internet about you. This is a very common tactic that cyber criminals use to further exploit people and companies to make them seem like these are legitimate messages. They will go to these links to get at your employees. So encourage users to verify any communication that they receive from SMS or through a text message, and go directly through those official websites or apps. So in this case, if you get toll-related communications, go directly to EasyPass. Go directly to SomePass by typing in easypass.com. Don't do a Google search. Don't click on any links. You do a Google search and somebody buys an ad or sets up a website that just happens to get ranked through SEO, and that's one of the first results that you see, and you click on it, you're getting scammed that way too. So it's really important to educate people that typing in the domain in the little browser bar at the top of the browser is the safest way to get to these websites when you're trying to figure out if these messages are legit or not. And if you log in, you're going to see more than likely that you have a message waiting for you similar to the one that you received. And if you don't see that, then pretty good indicator that you're dealing with a phishing SMS message or smishing, whatever you want to call it. And then the final thing is more advanced companies, more mature companies, as cyber defenders, you want to look at implementing mobile security solutions that flag suspicious links in text messages. Individuals can do this using simple tools like Bitdefender, or there's lots of different security tools online that will help you. Malwarebytes is another one that will help you with these types of things. All the phone providers, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, have their own security app that will scan your text messages, your Instagram DMs, your Facebook DMs for links that are potentially harmful or malicious. These are things that in a BYOD environment, if your company allows users to bring their own phones in to work and set up their company email on them and things like that, these are things that you're going to want to encourage your users to install and have in place so they have that security, so they don't end up causing a problem where they get malware on their phone and then they can read your company email with that malware. And you want to make sure that if you do own the devices as an organization, that you are deploying these tools and you are training your users on what to do if they get alerted that something might be suspicious. So that's it. And actually, wow, another one just came through here last minute that I just got up on the screen from my team. I'll bring that one up real quick here and give you the skinny. I wasn't planning on talking about this, so it isn't in the title and or description. But we have this interesting threat intel alert that is it's saying graybots surge as generative AI scraper activity increases. And what's going on here, guys, is generative AI scraper bots, known as gray bots, and this is all new to me, so I'm learning as I'm reading this, are automated programs designed to extract vast amounts of data from websites and web applications. Unlike traditional bots, gray bots occupy a middle ground. They are not overly malicious, but can cause significant disruptions. A recent report highlights a surge in activity from bots like Claudebot, operated by Anthropic, and ByteSpider, used by TikTok, with some web applications receiving up to 17,000 requests per hour by these bots. So gray bots, why this matters for everybody is the gray bots blur the line between legitimate and harmful activity. While their intent may not be malicious, their aggressive scraping can overwhelm web application traffic, leading to performance issues, extract proprietary or copyrighted data without authorization. I don't know how that's any different from current bots today. Distort website analytics, impacting business decision-making, and increase cloud hosting costs due to higher CPU and bandwidth usage. And it raises compliance risks for industries handling sensitive or regulated data, which that stuff shouldn't be out on the internet anyway. The rise of gray bots underscores the evolving challenges businesses face in protecting their digital assets and maintaining operational efficiency. So that's out of our report. And, my team here has kind of put some notes here for me to mitigate the impact of gray bots. Businesses and cyber defenders can deploy advanced bot management solutions and use tools that leverage AI and machine learning to detect and block suspicious bot behavior in real time. It's very interesting because our websites need these bots to kind of be found. And it looks like, we're using similar technology so AI can kind of go out there and learn and find websites using kind of the same technology that traditional search engines have always used to kind of find information. But it appears that these bots are kind of almost unregulated in terms of how much they access and how much they bang away on servers, and it's becoming a problem for various reasons for website operators and server operators. So one of the things you can do is try to block these bots or rate limit them if you want to kind of get ahead of this so it doesn't impact your web server or application. You also want to monitor traffic patterns for unusual consistency or volume surges. Maybe there's a point in the day or a point in time when these bots like to hit your server, so be aware of that. And if it, maybe if it happens in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., it's not as much of a problem for you as it happens in the middle of the day. You have to kind of figure that out and decide, how it impacts you and what to do. Always use that robots.txt file. While it's not enforceable, these files can tell bots to avoid scraping specific content, which is always a good idea. Limit the exposure of sensitive web applications or APIs from these bots. So if you have something critical that needs to run, like an API, and you don't want the bot to kind of DDoS it in a way, you can limit the exposure of those APIs from these bots so they can't even see them or get to them in the first place. And monitor your analytics closely. Regularly review website analytics to identify distorted metrics caused by these traffic bots. I mean, I can tell you, as somebody who is pretty involved with our marketing efforts here at Exact, there are days where we see massive spikes in traffic, and I'm kind of wondering if this is related to it. It's kind of been inexplicable to us the last maybe 6 months or so. We see it maybe 1 to 3 times a month, where a certain day randomly a lot of traffic just comes to our website for some reason, not really sure why. So take a look at this stuff, pay attention to it. If you run apps or you run a website, this is something you're going to want to be aware of and pay attention to as we kind of learn and perfect AI tools. This is a problem known as gray bots that can impact your computing experience and impact your users. And as IT people and cyber defenders, we're going to want to be aware of this, because this is going to manifest itself in a way where users are complaining of slowness or something not working on a website, and you're going to be left scratching your head. You might want to look here. So hopefully this was good information for you today. Appreciate the support, everybody, as always. Again, if you have any questions, we have the chat open. The comments will be there. Love to hear from you. And remember, cybersecurity is a tough job. You need this information. You need to stay up on top of this stuff. And I'm coming to you every day as much as I can with the latest and greatest from our threat intelligence team. Plus, if I have time, I'll review anything that's prominent in the news and give you my reaction to it. And again, I see the love in the chat. I appreciate it. And we'll see everybody tomorrow on Friday, April 4th. Take care. Stay safe out there.